Week 8 of the fantasy football season kicked off on Thursday Night Football with the LA Superchargers going up against the Minnesota Vikings. And if you had a few players in that game, you're feeling great. If you had Quentin Johnston, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, you are not feeling very good. So in today's video, we are going to try to help you either overcome the deficit that you are in or to build upon the points that you already have by ranking my top 20 quarterbacks as well as tight ends in tiers for week number 8 of the 2025 fantasy football season. Before we get into things though, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below as well as the like button. And with 6 teams on bye, these rankings look a little bit funky, so without further ado, let's get into today's video. We begin with my must-start quarterback ones, my quarterbacks 1 through 6, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Bo Nix, as well as Baker Mayfield. Patrick Mahomes has been on fire this season, just 1 game outside the top 6, and 4 games straight inside of the top 5, playing up against a Commanders defense that allows the 8th most points on a per-game basis to the quarterback position, with a quarterback who has been balling as much as Patrick Mahomes, and with a quarterback who just got his wide receiver 1 back from suspension. Patrick Mahomes is obviously going to be in the top 3 conversation every single week. At number 2, we got Josh Allen going up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. On paper, this is a rough matchup for quarterbacks, the 25th best matchup, but you're not going to panic about Josh Allen in any given matchup. I understand that his last 2 games definitely were far from ideal prior to the bye week, but I believe that coming out the bye, this will be the best looking Buffalo Bills offense we have seen so far this season. I feel very confident that they will make the correct adjustments and Josh Allen will continue to perform at a very solid rate. Again, there is a reason why you drafted this guy as early as you did. That is because you trust him week in and week out regardless of the matchup. Next up, we got Dak Prescott going up against the Denver Broncos in Mile High. Now, in terms of a matchup, just like Josh Allen, this is a no bueno spot on paper for Dak Prescott, the 29th best matchup for quarterbacks on a per game basis, but Dak Prescott is running on fire right now. Quarterback 9 last week, 6 the week prior to that, quarterback 3 the week prior to that, and the quarterback 1 back in week number 4. When you're going up against the Denver Broncos defense, I get on paper it's a little bit scary. It's a bit of a jump scare, Freddy Fazbear, okay? But going into a game that just saw the Denver Broncos offense put belt to ass in the 4th quarter up against the Giants, in a game that I truly believe is going to be the highest scoring game of the week. I get the matchup might be a little bit scary, but at the end of the day, Dak Prescott has earned a spot inside of the must-start top-end quarterback tier. So again, the matchup might scare you a little bit, but Dak has been way too good to sit him. Now we move to Jalen Hurts going up against the New York Football Giants. No A.J. Brown, so Devontae Smith will be the wide receiver number 1 in this game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, A.J. Brown is great and all, and we know Jalen Hurts loves to feed the ball to A.J. Brown, but Devontae Smith is very good as well, so it's not as big of a kind of hole in the lineup as it would be, obviously, if Devontae Smith was hurt as well. Going up against the Giants last time, they got smacked around like a fool up against the Giants last time out, and even in a game where the Philadelphia Eagles offense was definitely far from ideal, he was still the quarterback 8. He's been the quarterback 8 in back-to-back games. Now, this season has definitely not been the most ideal for Jalen Hurts based upon where you've drafted him. He has been fine, right? You're not disappointed that you drafted Jalen Hurts, but I think the thought process really was this guy's like close to a lock to be like a top 6 quarterback every single week, and that just hasn't been the case. But up against the Giants defense that, again, just got bent over a table in the 4th quarter by Bo Nix and friends in the 3rd best matchup for quarterbacks on a per-game basis, you obviously have to like Jalen Hurts. Then we got Bo Nix going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Anytime you can go up against the Dallas Cowboys defense, it's basically going to be the game of your fucking career. Bo Nix, obviously, the first 3 quarters last week were straight up dreadful. The offense could not move the ball, but the 4th quarter, this man and the whole offense came alive. 40 fantasy points last week as the quarterback number 1. Do I expect him to score 40 points up against the Cowboys? No. Is it possible up against a defense that is that bad, though? Yes. Yes, it is. At number 6 to close out this tier would be Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the New Orleans Saints. In terms of a matchup going up against the Saints, we have the 11th best matchup on paper. The only worry here really is that this just becomes a game that is a certified blowout. And what I mean by that is that Baker Mayfield gets up early and the New Orleans Saints can't play catch up. They're on the struggle bus. Spencer Rattler isn't playing that well. And then what will happen is they'll just spam run the ball a bunch with Rashad with 2A's White late in the game. But even in a game where they score that many points, they're up big. It's probably because Baker bounces back and has a good first half, a good first 3 quarters. Outside of last week, he's been very reliable this season. Last week, something just felt off about Baker Mayfield. He was missing so many passes that are just easy for him. Like you would always expect him to make. He was sailing the ball. He was missing guys left and right. I expect a bounce back out of him. So again, while the matchup is good on paper, I just slightly worry that they'll be up big and he might not do too much late, but he should get it done early enough. And again, you got to be playing Baker. Now we move into tier number 2, the lower end quarterback ones with Jackson Dart, Danny Dimes, I almost said Caleb Williams as if he's not fourth guy in this tier, Draco May, and then Caleb Williams. Jackson Dart has been playing so phenomenally. I, for one, definitely did not expect him to come out the gate on fire like this. I definitely thought it would take some time, especially with the schedule that Jackson Dart has faced. But he played up against the Eagles back in week number 6. He was the quarterback 3. Last week up against the Broncos, I know that was the choke hurled around the world, right? And still, quarterback 3 in that game. So going up against the Eagles, a defense that he already proved he could play well up against, in a matchup that is the 19th best for the quarterback position. Again, we talk about this all the time. When a guy is playing as well as Jackson Dart, you stay in the flame. It's the NBA Jam rule. Once a guy is on fire, once he has 2 big games in a row, you want to keep rocking with it. So while deep down, I kind of think that the Philadelphia Eagles will come alive in this game and they will absolutely skull fuck the Giants, Jackson Dart will be down in that game throwing the ball, so I do feel very good about him to potentially finish as a top 5 option yet again. Then we got the Giants' former quarterback, Danny Dimes, Danny Fumbles, Danny Stumbles of the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Tennessee Titans. Back-to-back games as a top 11 quarterback. Daniel Jones looked very good up against the Cardinals, looked very good last week up against the Chargers. That game was a verified blowout. They were just running the ball a ton. Jonathan Taylor obviously had a big day because when doesn't he? Jonathan Taylor is a menace to society, and every defense that goes against him because of how good the offensive line is definitely is having a fucking panic attack prior to the game. It's like back in the day, imagine being in like high school, right? And you're, chilling in math class, and 3 hours from now, you have to guard Zion Williamson. Or 3 hours from now, you're a corner, and you got to go up against fucking Megatron. Right? Imagine how scary that would be. That's probably how defensive players feel when they learn that Jonathan Taylor's on the other side. Now, the Titans matchup is bad on paper for quarterbacks, but Daniel Jones has been so good. Again, I'm just not going to doubt him. Then we got Draco May going up against the Cleveland Browns. In terms of a matchup, this is another bad one, but Drake May, another one of these guys that we just simply trust. Top 10 quarterback in back-to-back games, just 2 games outside of the top 16. He has scored 20 or more points in all games outside of 2, so 5 of 7 games. Again, I get the matchup is worrisome. That is a little bit inflated by the fact that Tua turned the ball over not once, not twice, but thrice up against the Browns last week, so I think Drake May looks a lot better. Then we got Caleb Williams. Now, if I trusted Caleb Williams more, I would rank him higher than this because going up against the Baltimore Ravens defense, this is the second best matchup for quarterbacks on a per-game basis. The problem really lies here as to why I can't rank him higher is just due to the fact that Lamar Jackson isn't playing. They're going with Snoop Tyler Huntley, so if this game isn't as close, they can just do what they've done over the last 2 weeks, and you get a healthy dosage of DeAndre Swift, and Caleb Williams is kind of just meh. Last week, the motherfucker scored just 6 fantasy points. So that is a big worry of mine, but ultimately the matchup is just so delightful, like that Christmas song. The weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful that I just got to rock with Caleb Williams, even though deep down it scares me a little. Now we move into the high-end quarterback twos, really the low-end QB1s to the high-end QB2s. Cool Joe Flacco, Jordan, love me tender, love me sweet, and Ron Rodgers, back-to-back Michael Jordan, 96-97, woo! In the exact same game, Joe Flacco has looked like a completely different beast in Cincinnati. In Cleveland, Joe Flacco looked like he was lost. He looked like he was in need of a map. But now in Cincinnati, they've awoken the old version of Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco does something that Jake Browning for some reason forgot how to do, and that is the fuck it, Jamar Chase is out there somewhere play. The F it, we have Jamar Chase, let's just throw him the ball a gazillion times. That would be my strategy if I was put in a situation where I'm the quarterback of the Bengals. I will die on the sword of just throwing the ball to Jamar Chase 20 plus times. Because Jamar Chase, even if you're not the most accurate quarterback, is going to bring in crazy catches. He's one of the best, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. Joe Flacco is thinking like one of us. He's thinking like a layman. He's thinking like a, what is that called? A Monday morning quarterback, right? Joe Flacco, top 15 quarterback in back-to-back games, going up against a Jets defense here that definitely isn't as good as we thought they would be. 15th best matchup for quarterbacks on a per game basis. I like Flacco in this range. Then we move to Jordan, love me tender, love me sweet, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I say this every single week about Jordan Love. Jordan Love is basically just a guy that you play to finish anywhere from quarterback 12-ish to quarterback 18. And he's going to do that basically every single week. The shot of him finishing as like a top 5 quarterback does feel relatively low, just because if this does end up being a game where they're up, they're just going to use Josh Jacobs a ton, right? Especially inside the red zone. So a guy like Jordan Love doesn't necessarily need to throw the ball for 300 plus yards and 3+ touchdowns to win most games. Now the matchup here is very good, the 4th best matchup. So if there ever was a game like up against the Cowboys where he went absolutely nuclear back in week 4, it would be on Sunday Night Football up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just want you guys to temper your expectations, because Jordan Love, to me, just kind of feels like waving the white flag, getting your 16 to 20 points at quarterback, and getting out of there, whereas some of these other guys feel like the upside might be a little bit higher. Then we got Aaron Rodgers going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, Aaron Rodgers has been relatively bad this season, I would say. I guess not bad, but just not really all that good. He's just kind of mid, I guess would be the best way to put it. But we saw in week 1, his revenge game up against the Jets. The dude looked like the Aaron Rodgers of 5 years ago, right? When he had COVID toe. He was the quarterback 7 up against the Jets, 26 fantasy points. Last week, up against the Bengals, he was going up against another Joe Flacco. He's the quarterback 7 with 25 fantasy points. So while, if this was just any other matchup, I'd be like, you know what? Rodgers is a guy you probably don't want to have to be ranking this high. But with 6 teams on bye, the 17th best matchup, in a revenge game narrative, I like Aaron Rodgers in this spot a ton. Now we move to tier number 4, which is going to be the mid-range quarterback 2s. Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Coles Cash, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. But before we break down the rest of the quarterbacks and then pivot into the tight end rankings in today's video, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and stop using promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description, you receive a free pick, plus a first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you play $5 in the pick'em, you receive an additional $100 in bonus funds or in bonus entries. How does the pick'em work, you might ask? It's incredibly simple. You pick at least 2 players, they're higher or the lower. If both picks hit, you get paid. If you do multiple other picks, then the payout will be higher, but all of the picks have to hit, so make sure you guys do check that out. Promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. So in tier 4, the mid-range quarterback 2s, we begin with Justin Fields. Now I know what you might be saying, Nick, I'm done with Justin Fields. Nick, Justin Fields sucks ass. Nick, Justin Fields is terrible. Nick, Justin Fields is this. Chief Keef ain't, Justin Fields ain't no hitter. All these things, right? I get it, but Justin Fields, you know, can pull the rabbit out the hat and finish as a top 7, top 8, top 3 QB1 in any given game. I'm not telling you that I feel like Justin Fields is safe, because Justin Fields is far from safe, right? It's like going golfing during a thunderstorm when there's lightning, right? You are in danger of potentially getting fucking smoked Pikachu style by the lightning bolt, right? But the upside is very significant. You're going up against a Cincinnati Bengals defense that allows the 9th most points to quarterbacks. Woody Johnson absolutely flamed Justin Fields throughout the week. They're like, oh, it's going to be Tyrod. Tyrod can't go. Now it's Justin Fields. So this is like an angry Justin Fields game. Maybe it works and he's like the quarterback 4. Maybe it doesn't work and he's the quarterback 24. But I'm willing to take it. Pause. I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit with Justin Fields. Then we got Mac Jones going up against the Houston Texans. In terms of a matchup, this is the worst matchup for quarterbacks. We saw Sam Darnold look like he was seeing ghosts again, like he was back on the Jets, mono man Sam himself. But Mac Jones has been pretty good as the starter. Not so hot last week up against the Falcons, but outside of Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers offense definitely just didn't perform as well as expected. The matchup, again, is tough, but Mac Jones has been pretty reliable. He has the weapons around him to succeed. So, again, in a week where 6 teams are on bye, Mac Jones has to be ranked this high. Then we got Cole's Cash. Kirk Thuggins. You like that? Up against the Miami Dolphins. Going up against the Dolphins again. This is one of those matchups where you write home to your wife. You're like, holy shit, we hit the jackpot. We get to go up against the Dolphins that couldn't stop me throwing the ball. A Dolphins defense that cannot stop the run to save their lives, to save their jobs. Mike McDaniel is an absolute idiot. Chris Greer should be sent to the moon without an astronaut suit. I am so sick of the Miami Dolphins and Kirk Cousins from the fucking couch. He's just chilling from the bench. He's not doing anything all year. It's all Michael Penix. And this week, Kirk Cousins is going to sling that thing around like Indiana Jones and smack us front hand, backhand, like that Key and Peele sketch. Front hand, backhand, like those tennis players whose names I was trying to remember. I think it's like Felder or whatever. And then there's the guy from Spain who's really good as well, whose name is escaping me, even though I bet on him recently and then he lost. What an asshole that guy is. But Kirk Cousins, again, do I think Kirk Cousins is great in 2025? Fuck no, baby. But anyone can be great up against the Dolphins defense. Then we got Marcus Mariota going up against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Brutal matchup for quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota, quarterback 6 and 17 when he started. So while I don't think Marcus Mariota isn't a great matchup, while I don't think Marcus Mariota is great, Terry McLaurin's back, Debo's back. He has all of the weapons to at least be trailing to the Chiefs and just heave the ball up there a couple times, run the rock a little bit, and have a halfway decent game. I'm not asking for Mariota to be the quarterback 1 up against the Chiefs. I'm just asking for him to be good enough to keep your head above water. Then the final tier here, the YOLO range at the quarterback position, CJ Stroud as well as Spencer Rattler. Now, we saw CJ Stroud look amazing prior to the bye up against the Baltimore Ravens because, again, the Ravens defense is straight up cheeks. Shout out to Sandy. After the bye week, quarterback 15. Last week, he looked a little bit blind up against Seattle. Got that passing touchdown to Woody Marks to close out the game, even though they lost. But it was, the last score in the game. Going up against the 49ers definitely doesn't feel like the kind of game, though, where CJ Stroud magically turns back to, 2023, his rookie year, right? The 22nd best matchup for quarterbacks. But again, a lot of teams on bye. You might have to go with CJ Stroud even without Nico Collins. Then we got Spencer Rattler. Now, Spencer Rattler is good if you need 12 points, right? If everything's down bad and you need 12 to 15 points, you can go with Spencer Rattler. I'd be shocked if he scored more than that, but they should be down up against the Buccaneers, and they should be throwing. We just saw Jared Goff carve them up like the Thanksgiving turkey, 14th best matchup for quarterbacks, but Jared Goff is like all the way up here, and Spencer Rattler is in the fucking basement. So, again, break glass in case of emergency for these guys. Now we pivot on into the tight end position here with my S tier, the top tier, the number 1 tier at tight end, the top 4 guys, the must-start tight end ones. You know them, you love them. Tyler Warren, Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, Mac and Cheese, and George Kittle, me Timbers. Now, when it comes to Tyler Warren, as a rookie, this guy has been everything that I talked about in the summer, and honestly, he's been even better than I thought he would be in the summer. He is facing a matchup up against the Titans that is rough on paper, but they have not yet gone against a tight end like Monsieur Tyler Warren, who is one of the best tight ends in all of the NFL already. All games inside the top 12 except for one, so six of 7 games inside the top 11. I just keep expecting him to ball a touchdown in 4 straight games. I'm feeling good about him. Then we got Jake Ferguson, Fergalicious, going up against the Denver Broncos in Mile High. In terms of a matchup, going up against the Denver Broncos is the 22nd best matchup for the tight end position. Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb returns. The rumor has it, maybe Jake Ferguson will have a bit of a fall off. Maybe Jake Ferguson will struggle. And then you know what Jake Ferguson does? He hits you with the 2-piece, 2 tugs in that game as the tight end number 4 up against the Commanders. Why can't he do it again? He will do it again, even in a tough matchup. Then we got Tucker Kraft back and cheese. Tucker Kraft's kind of all over the place. Not the safest commodity. Very risky compared to Tyler Ward and Jake Ferguson. But Tucker Kraft is in a game that I do think could end up being sneaky high scoring, and it's in the 3rd best game up against tight ends in terms of a matchup. Last week, we saw up against the Steelers, Noah Fant score a touchdown. So Tucker Kraft certainly can. A touchdown now in back-to-back games, and he scored a touchdown in 4 of 6 games. So again, while his target share bounces all around heavily, it's very unpredictable. The upside is too strong with Tucker Kraft. Then we got George Kittle. Now, if you started George Kittle last week, you felt like a stone cold dumbass. You felt as dumb as it gets. You fell for the trap. It's your fault, right? You totally should have seen that coming. I'm only kidding. I did not see that coming at all. George Kittle, after the game, apologized to all the fantasy owners. He said, "I'm sorry, guys. I thought I would have had a better game." He scores a grand total of, drumroll please, 0 fantasy points as the tight end, 73 last week. But again, he apologized to us. He said he thought he would have had a better game. I ain't worrying about that. I am not going to worry about that at all. Rough matchup again this week, but George Kittle is George Kittle. You want the guy in your lineup. Now we move into tier number 2, the mid-range tight end ones with Dallas Goedert as well as Dalton Kincaid. In this tier also was Orlando Gadsden, who already played and had a good game. Now, Dallas Goedert is a very big dice roll weekly, right? Last week, he has 3 targets for 18 yards and 5 fantasy points at the tight end 31. The week prior to that, up against the Giants, 9 of 11 for 110 yards and a touchdown. From weeks 3 through 6, he scored a touchdown in every single game and had 5 total touchdowns in that stretch of 4 games. No A.J. Brown, probably more involvement of Dallas Goedert, so we got to rank him this highly. Then we got Dalton Kincaid, who's currently got the Q tag. He is questionable, so we'll see what happens with him. Thought maybe he would play prior to the bye. He didn't. Shout out to Christopher Maltasante. I didn't. Top 10 tight end in 3 of 5 games to start off the year. A touchdown in 3 of 5 games. Josh Allen loves a nice tight end, and they use a decent amount of them, but Dalton Kincaid's the number 1 option there at the tight end position. Should get his 5+ targets up against the Carolina Panthers. That game is in Carolina. This is the 5th best matchup for tight ends. Got to feel good about Kincaid if he gets the nod to start. Now we move into tier number 3, the low-end tight end ones with Travis Kelce, Dalton Schultz, Mason Taylor, Cade Otton, and Harold Fannin. Travis Kelce, Mr. Swift himself, definitely had a down game last week. The return of Rashee Rice hit him, and it hurt him like a butt cheek on a stick. But ultimately, that was a game where they benched everyone at the end of the 3rd quarter. So if, Kelce and Mahomes played until the 4th quarter, he could have scored a late touchdown. He was 3 of 3 for 54. Not really going to panic after that game. It doesn't move me completely off of Travis Kelce. Does it worry me in a bit? Yeah. Like, if they're really going to be feeding Rashee Rice like a fat kid at, a buffet, then yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. But it's just one game. 14th best matchup for tight ends against the Commanders. You're still rocking with that. Then we got Dalton Schultz. No Nico Collins. No Christian Kirk. A lot of Dalton Schultz last week. 9 of 10 for 98 yards. I don't think he's going to score a touchdown just because I really don't think the offense is that good. Like, I just don't think CJ Stroud... I don't know if it's like you can't really just completely blame CJ Stroud. Like, it's not all his fault that the offensive line is so bad and he has like no time. Like, if you're watching the games, it's like Nico Collins is just kind of open, but there's just not enough time to actually get him the ball. And Dalton Schultz is going to get all the easy action, the safe stuff. And without Kirk, without Nico Collins, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of Dalton Schultz in this game again, even though his touchdown upside is limited, and this matchup is a slightly below average matchup. He was the tight end 5 last week without a touchdown, so I think the good game is coming yet again. Then we got Mason Taylor going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. He's dealing with the quad injury. Absolutely dreadful in back-to-back games. If you had Mason Taylor in London, he scores 1 fantasy point, then he scores 6 fantasy points up against the Panthers last week. Do I trust Justin Fields? The answer is very obvious. It is no. But the Bengals are the best matchup on a per-game basis for tight ends. Darnell Washington scored last week. So did Jadu Smith. And Freiermuth, I think, scored 2 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns for tight ends last week up against the Bengals. So while I don't trust Justin Fields, while I don't trust Mason Taylor, I think you got to be willing take that shot on a guy like Mason Taylor. Then we got Cade Otton going up against the New Orleans Saints. No Mike Evans. The thought is just more Cade Otton. We've seen more Cade Otton over the last 3 weeks. Baker, again, down bad last week. And even with his piss poor play, 7 of 9 for 65 yards up against the Lions in Detroit as the tight end 11. So while I am far from, getting down on my knees and giving Cade Otton the Gok 9000 special, 17th best matchup for tight ends, feels fine if you have Cade Otton. Then we got Harold Fannin Jr. going up against the Patriots. Seems like David Njoku might be good to go. He was limited, so I think he'll probably will end up playing. Fannin struggled last week, but anyone with a brain could have seen that coming. The weather in that game just led to, hey, it's going to be the Judkins Express. That's what we saw. This week up against the Patriots, elite run defense. I think they're going to have to be throwing the ball a lot more. This is the 15th best matchup for tight ends on a per-game basis, so I feel good about playing Harold Fannin. Dylan Gabriel absolutely adores the tight end position. Now we move to the high-end tight end 2s, Kyle Pitts Sr., Zach Ertz, as well as Theo Johnson. Kyle Pitts up against the Dolphins. Again, anytime you get to go up against the Dolphins, you're just feeling great. You're feeling peachy. The 11th best matchup for tight ends. Kyle Pitts coming off of a banger last week, 7 of 10 for 62 yards. As the tight end 12, I think Kirk Cousins should find some solid use out of him. Does feel risky, though, because, again, I wouldn't be shocked if he scored 5 points, but I also think the upside is significant. Then we got Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has been down terrific. Down terrible. Down terrific kind of sounds nice. Getting it down terrific style. No, he's down bad without Jaden Daniels. Very good with Jaden Daniels. Back-to-back games with the touchdown. Started off the season with back-to-back games with the touchdown. With Jaden Daniels, he has been ice cold. Kind of worrisome. Kind of worrisome for me. But again, they should be down against the Chiefs. They should be throwing. Bad matchup, though. So again, I don't necessarily love him. Then we got Theo Johnson going up against the Eagles. Last time up against the Eagles, he put up 5 fantasy points. Last week, he was the tight end number 9. He scored a touchdown. He has a grand total of 4 touchdowns on the season. He scored 4 touchdowns over the stretch of the last 4 games. So if he can just play better this time, get a little bit more involved up against the Eagles, I get it's a rough matchup. But in this range, you're really just praying for a touchdown. Then we got the final guys, the lower-end startable options. David Njoku, again, listed as questionable on Sunday with the knee injury. Harold Fannin loves throwing the ball to tight ends. David Njoku is probably the second best option on the team at this point, with Fannin being numero uno, the head honcho. So that's why I have Njoku ranked a little bit lower. Then we have Hunter Henry as well as Evan Ingram. Hunter Henry, your guess is as good as mine. How good of a game he's going to have. Basically just close your eyes and guess. Tight end 28, 32, and 25 over the last 3 games. He has stretched those, the tight end 1 and the tight end 10 in back-to-back weeks. This is a great offense. This is an offense you want pieces of, obviously, but it's hard to every single week actually predict which piece actually ends up being good. This is the 20th best matchup for tight end, so he could have a good game. Then we close things out with Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram kind of just feels like I'm going to get the tight end 18 or 19. That's where I have him ranked right now. Tight end 19 in back-to-back games. His involvement has increased. Bo Nix looks very good. Great matchup up against the Cowboys. But again, I still just deep down don't know if Evan Ingram will really ever be able to go over the top in his first year on the Denver Broncos. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you didn't enjoy today's video, please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. If you are new to the channel or not new, make sure you leave a like on today's video. It helps me out a ton. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already. Love you long time. As always, good boy.